Hi, and welcome to Confidence Equals Beauty with Amanda Taylor. Here on this podcast, you can find motivation and learn different techniques and styles to help you step out of your comfort zone and build the confidence you deserve. I'm your host, Amanda Taylor. I am a trained mental health therapist along with life coach experience to help teach women like you to love and accept themselves for who they are meant to be. I teach women how to change their mindset, self-talk, and to get to a place where they can relax into their season, shine bright, and live out their God-given purpose. Today's episode will help you grow in confidence as confidence equals beauty. Hi, and welcome to Confidence Equals Beauty with Amanda Taylor. I'm your host, Amanda Taylor. I just want to welcome you here and thank you for joining me. Today, I want to talk about emotional maturity, the foundation of true confidence in women. And oftentimes, confidence is misunderstood. It's associated with boldness, assertiveness, or outward success. However, for many women, genuine and lasting confidence doesn't come from appearance or achievements alone, but it develops from emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is a quiet strength just beneath the confidence. It shapes how a woman sees herself, navigates relationships, handles challenges, and shows up in the world. Without it, confidence can be fragile. With it, confidence comes from grounded, resilient, and deeply authentic. And the reason why I want to talk about this conversation is I have experienced in the last few months being around other women, friendships, family members, you name it, just women of all ages in general. And one of the things I pick up on when people are experiencing maybe some disruption in their lives, maybe confrontation in their lives, even just understanding what they are feeling or thinking, the one thing I've noticed, I have been able to pick out those who are what's called emotionally mature and those who are not. And I really feel like as women, we really need to learn how to be emotionally mature. And it's going to look different from every woman. But I believe if you can handle your own emotions in a mature way, I believe you can get so much further in life. I think you can get, it's called you get more honey than vinegar, how you treat others. But I feel like this is where internally you will gain more confidence in yourself because you'll be able to handle the life curves and things that come at you in a mature way. So emotional maturity is not about suppressing emotions or always being calm. It's about understanding your feelings instead of being controlled by them. It's taking responsibility for reactions and choices, setting healthy boundaries without guilt, responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, holding compassion for yourself and others at the same time. And for women, especially those who often socialize to please, accommodate, or minimize themselves, emotional maturity is an act of self-ownership. Why emotional maturity builds real confidence? 1. Self-awareness creates self-trust. Emotionally mature women know themselves. They recognize their strengths, limitations, values, emotional triggers. This self-awareness builds self-trust. The confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way because you understand how you operate. So let me use an example of myself. When I am in a state of my anxiety is high, maybe I feel uneasy, or I feel like I am just kind of not all there. My heart's beating really fast. My head's spinning. I'm in, like I said, a state of anxiety. I find myself being a little bit more snappy. My tone tends to be very sharp, very do what I say it just the moment I say it, how I say it, do it. If you don't do it, I'm going to get upset. Or if I'm sharing something and I feel not heard and my anxiety spikes, I can often become very confrontational of like, you're not listening. Why are you not listening? I shut down completely. But when I am aware Okay, I'm walking into a situation, I feel very uncomfortable. I'm very unsure of myself. I feel the anxiety in me. This is where I am aware that I know what's going on internally. I recognize the weakness at this moment is I am almost in fight or flight. My brain is not thinking clearly. My heart's racing. I'm aware that I'm not going to get what I need to say very clear because I'm allowing the body to overcome. So, this is where I'm very self aware of what's going on. This is where I need to ground myself and calm myself down. This is also a moment if my anxiety is kind of speaking for me, the worries, all of the things coming out. I have to be very aware that another person I'm speaking to may not feel that exact way. And I may not get the response I want from that person while I'm speaking in a state of anxiety. This is very important for you to understand this so you can understand what you need to do to calm, to be able to speak, and to be able to implement the conversation. So when you trust yourself, you no longer need constant validation from others. So let's move on to number 2. Confidence without comparison. Emotional maturity reduces the urge to compare yourself to other women. Instead of measuring worth through competition or external approval, mature confidence comes from internal alignment. You can admire others without diminishing yourself, and you can succeed without needing someone else to fail. I feel like this is a struggle for a lot of women. You can be confident in who you are and all of your abilities. But the moment you look over to someone else and compare to try to either up yourself or maybe you'll diminish yourself, this is where you can become emotionally immature. It's important that you know who you are. It's important that you're not comparing yourself to others. It is important that it is okay for others to succeed before you. A lot of times I see women who are not emotionally mature. When someone else succeeds, they will start the gossip train, or they will maybe make snarky remarks to bring the other person down because they themselves are allowing that immaturity to come out. When you are able to recognize, I am very glad that friend succeeded. I'm not there yet, but I will be. When you're able to acknowledge that, it's amazing how much you can control your emotions. I don't quite understand why women have this scarcity mindset that only one woman can make it to the top. And that's not true. I do believe that each person has their time and their moment that is supposed to be theirs. And there's nothing you can do to change it or do it. If it's your time, it is your time. If it's not your time, that becomes a learning experience for you. So you can do better, or you can figure out what the weakness was, or you can figure out how to build on your strengths. But it's very important for you to be emotionally mature so you reduce that urge to compare yourself. Number 3, boundaries strengthen self-worth. Many women struggle with confidence because they struggle with boundaries. And emotional maturity teaches that saying no is not selfish, it's self-respect. And each boundary you honor reinforces the belief my needs matter. That belief is a cornerstone of confidence. Boundaries can be one of the hardest things to set with other people. I struggle with it a lot because I tend to worry about if I set a boundary, how the other person will feel. Now, I had to flip this script in my head. Why am I stressing about what they feel about my boundaries when they are not even respecting me? I'm having to place boundaries because they're not respecting me. And that is where it's very important. If you look at your schedule and someone comes to you and asks you, hey, can you do this? And you see you are stretched very thin, that is the place to say no. That's not selfish. That's really respecting yourself. Because if you do say yes, my question for you is, will you be able to fulfill the yes 100% full? Or are you going to fill the yes with anxiety or with frustration or with snapping at your children, snapping at your husband, snapping at your friends because you are so overwhelmed? If someone wants to come over or someone wants to do an event with you and you just can't emotionally, physically, or mentally handle another person in your space, it is okay to tell them no. That doesn't mean no forever. It just means no right now. And I believe when you set boundaries, it honors yourself. It honors that you matter. Boundaries are not meant to hurt other people. They're just meant to protect you, but allow the other person to know how far they can get away with you. And if they choose to overbear those or overstep those boundaries or try to bulldoze those boundaries, yeah, you have to stand up more. It doesn't have to be a negative, ugly confrontation, but it is important for your emotional maturity to be like, no, no means no. So let's go on to number 4. Resilience in the face of criticism. I don't know about y'all, but this one's hard. Emotionally mature women can receive feedback without collapsing or becoming defensive. They understand that criticism is information, not a definition of their worth. This resilience allows confidence to remain steady even when others disagree, disapprove, or misunderstand. In my background, when I was in college with music, when you are in a vocal lesson or you're in a choir, band, private lesson, in a group ensemble, it doesn't really kind of matter. There is 99.9% time there will be a feedback that will come across as you're not good enough. Now, that's not what really happens. It is the professor is showing you where you're not getting your timing right, maybe your vocal, where your singing is not on pitch. And it's their job to get you prepared for what's called recitals at the end of or juries or recitals. It's something to prepare you for when you're going to perform this piece of music. The criticism is not to tell you you're horrible or a bad singer, musician, whatever. It is their job to, when you get your timing off, to stop you, redirect your timing, teach you how to get that timing right. And then that way, when that part comes up, you are nailing it as flawless as you can. I don't know how many times I went to hit a note and I reached for it and it was sharp or flat. And my professor would stop all the music and be like, all right, Amanda. And then she would have to tell me what I was doing wrong, which is why the note would not come out. Same thing when I was in graduate school. As when I was going through my master's degree program in counseling, we would have to record ourselves having a therapy session, and the professor would listen to it, or my classmates would listen to it, and they would tell me where I went wrong. Now, did it hurt? Any of these criticism when I was singing, when I was practicing doing therapy, when I was in my job and sitting with my supervisor, and my supervisor is having to tell me the areas I need to improve on. It was not meant to criticize and tell me I was a horrible person. It was meant to help me get better. Same thing on a worship team. I can use so many different examples, but like on a worship team, if I hear someone playing a timing wrong, it is my job as the worship leader to go to that person and help them with the timing. It's my job if I hear something sounding off vocally. It is my job to teach how to sing it correctly. In your career, in your job, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a boss who is going to tell you what you did maybe didn't meet par, or tell you how to do it better, or how to basically not do it again. Trying to find the words, I couldn't find them. When someone is coming to you and giving you feedback on something, and you start getting defensive, that's a telltale sign you've got to work on your emotional maturity. Becoming defensive is one of the first things where people are kind of in the wrong. It's okay to explain, well, this was what I did and this is how I came to this conclusion. But getting defensive and trying to throw back ugly words, well, let's say someone came at me and said, okay, Amanda, you were flat. Well, and I go, well, you were flat. What about you? Why aren't you singing good? That is defensiveness. That shows a lack of emotional maturity. And also, if someone comes to you and has to give you a criticism or give you any form of feedback, that does not define your worth. Me singing a note wrong is not my identity. It's something that came out of my body and my vocal cords and my breath support, and something didn't make sense or didn't connect. Now I've got to learn how to make it work. That doesn't mean I failed at singing. That just means something wasn't aligned right, and I have to do the proper technique for the note to become right. If I turned in a report and I did not proofread everything, and I gave it to my boss, and my boss skimmed it and had to tell me everything, punctuation, spelling, grammar that was wrong, that was not anything for tell me that my worth was. It just says you've got to proofread more. Allow yourself to have the criticism, the feedback, even if it's not what you want to hear. Do it without becoming defensive. Listen. See what that person is trying to tell you and how you can better improve. Moving on, number 5. Emotional independence, true confidence, isn't the absence of vulnerability. It's the ability to feel deep without being emotionally dependent. Emotionally mature women do not outsource their self-esteem. Their confidence isn't built on being chosen, liked, or validated. It's built by their inner stability. Let me explain this better. When you can handle your emotion, you know who you are. You believe in yourself. You can make a decision without second guessing or needing other people's opinion. You're at a good place. You do not have to outsource for self-esteem boosters. A lot of times I see women, they're thinking about a big change. They're thinking about something they want to do. And so they start sharing it. They believe strongly in what they're trying to decide to do. They believe strongly in their product. They believe strongly in their vision, their goal. And they'll start talking to other people, trying to get them to validate that it is okay for them to move on. An emotional mature woman does not have to seek out everyone's opinion or advice if what she wants to do is validated. So when you have confidence in yourself, you have gained your emotional maturity, you do not have to seek validation from anybody. You know in your heart it's right. Or you know in your heart, you've got this. So let's talk about the difference between performative and grounded confidence. Performative confidence seeks attention, approval, or dominance. This is the person who may be the mean girl, the catty mom, who's talking about how so-and-so's daughter isn't the best dancer, but her daughter is better, or her daughter didn't get the part because of every excuse possible. This is a person who, you know them, they're sitting there. They have to talk over everybody to be center of attention. They need approval. I'll sit there so many times in groups of women and I'll overhear this one woman and I'm just like, I just want to hug her. And I just want to tell you, you are amazing and wonderful. You don't have to prove. You don't have to tear people down. You don't have to gossip. You don't have to make yourself look better than everybody else. You can just be yourself. Grounded confidence feels calm, assured, and secure. A lot of times when I'm in a group of women, specifically in certain settings, I don't talk. Not because I don't feel like it. It's I hear the cattiness of the gossip or the negative talk or tearing others down to make themselves feel better. And I know who I am. I may have my own anxiety. I have my own personal issues, but I know who I am. And so a lot of times I don't need to contribute to those conversations. I do not want to talk negative about someone else to make myself feel better. That's not a true friend. I don't want to be that woman. I don't want to be the woman who's asking everybody, is this dress look okay? Is my hair makeup look good? Can you tell I've lost weight? I don't want to be her. So a lot of times I know I'm working hard. I know certain days I'm going to look rougher than others, but I'm secure in who I am. I know who I am. I don't have to seek security. So grounded confidence, you will feel more calm. You will feel assured in yourself and you feel more secure. Emotional maturity is what transforms confidence from something you prove into something you embody. Let me repeat that again. Emotional maturity is what transforms confidence from something you prove into something you embody. I think I like that. When you have confidence, when you're emotionally mature, you embody it. You don't have to prove anything, you embody it. I think that is so beautiful. Emotional responsibility is not taking immaturity out on others. A critical but often overlooked part of emotional maturity is emotional responsibility. And this is the ability to experience emotions without projecting them onto others. Emotional maturity patterns often show up as defensive, passive aggressive, emotional outburst, blame shifting, or expecting others to regulate our feelings for us. While these reactions are human, consistently acting on them erodes confidence rather than build it. Let's kind of break on this. When you're emotionally immature, we've already talked about defensiveness. Passive aggressive. That one is when someone who is immature may compliment you, but then switch it into a negative, backhanded cut down. But they're trying to say it in a nice, polite way. An emotional outburst. This is when you're having a conversation and they look like a psycho person. They're screaming and hollering and yelling. You're like, what is going on with you? Blame shifting. Immediately not taking responsibility and blaming others for anything and everything. Or looking to someone, and I have to use my youngest daughter on this. You made me mad. That's why I yelled. You made me mad. That's why I threw my toy. Well, no. I have to teach her. Yes, you got angry. You made the choice to get angry. You made the choice to not regulate your feelings. An emotionally mature woman understands this key truth. Having emotions is valid, but making others responsible for them is not. Instead of reacting impulsively, an emotionally mature woman practices pausing. She names what she feels without attacking, withdrawing, or manipulating. Here are some key things an emotionally mature woman will ask. What am I actually feeling right now? Why is this triggering me? What response aligns with the woman I want to be? Let's say I've had a really rough day. I'm stressed. And now one of my kids is just being extra. I don't think the kid's actually being extra, it's just you're actually stressed to begin with. But the kid just isn't listening. Instead of screaming and hollering at your child, it's very important to be like, what am I feeling right now? 9 times out of 10, if you identify that feeling, you can identify it and you can correct it. So for me, it would be, okay, my children are not listening, that I am already stressed out, I'm feeling fragile, my anxiety is naturally up. I feel like they're not listening to me. What's that emotion? I'm not feeling heard. That's what starts it. I don't feel like I'm being heard. I am already stressed. So now I'm not feeling heard. Now it leads to anger. Why is this triggering me? Well, because I didn't take care of the stress beforehand. I didn't regulate myself. I did not calm my nerves. I didn't do deep breathing techniques. I just kept adding on and piling up and piling up. So now I'm triggered because I didn't take care. So my child telling me no has now triggered the response or it has triggered, I'm already stressed. Now it's triggered the anger. What response aligns with the woman I am to be? Well, I don't want to be the yelling mom. So what do I need to do? This is a time I would need to take a break. I need to calm down, get my anxiety under control, get the stress under control, reprioritize what's going on, have my child separate from me, let my child calm down. I want to be a mom and I want to be the woman who can tell my children directions without losing it. Okay, this is how I line myself up. This self-regulation doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means expressing them with clarity and respect. This would be a time, let's use the same example. I can tell my children, hey guys, I feel very stressed. I feel like you're not listening. I need to calm down because I'm very angry. That would be okay to express that to them. Now, if I went, you guys never listen, I'm over this, get out of my face. If I'm screaming stuff like that, that's just not handling myself appropriately. I'm losing it. And so it's important to recognize the emotion you feel. It's okay. And in fact, I encourage you to express your emotion to someone else. I feel so and so when this happens. When a woman stops taking her unresolved emotions out on others, several powerful shifts occur. Her relationships become safer and more authentic. Her communication becomes clear and more confident. She no longer feels shame after her emotional reaction. She earns respect from others and from herself. This restraint is not weakness, it's strength. It reflects a woman who trusts herself enough to sit with comfort, It reflects a woman who trusts herself enough to sit with discomfort rather than discharge into those around her. Confidence grows here when a woman knows she can feel deeply and respond wisely. So why does this matter? I believe that in a world that's constantly evaluates women's appearance, success, likability, emotional maturity is liberating. It allows women to define themselves on their own terms. An emotional, mature woman doesn't shrink to be accepted or harden to be respected. She stays whole. Growing emotional maturity and confidence along with it. Emotional maturity is a skill set, not a personality trait. It grows through honest self-reflection, emotional accountability, healing unresolved wounds, learning to sit with discomfort instead of avoiding it, choosing self-respect over people-pleasing. As emotional maturity deepens, confidence follows natural. So in final thoughts, confidence rooted in emotional maturity is powerful because it's unshakable. It doesn't disappear with rejecting, aging, failure, or change. For women, emotional maturity isn't just personal growth, it's empowerment. Oh, that empowerment is one of the most amazing feelings to have. It's the foundation that allows confidence to be real, sustainable, and deeply freeing. True confidence doesn't shout, it stands. So I hope these tips help you understand how being emotional mature can help you build confidence. And remember, confidence equals beauty.
Thank you for listening to Confidence Equals Beauty podcast with Amanda Taylor. If this podcast has helped you in any way, I encourage you to subscribe to this podcast so you do not miss out on any episodes. Also, please share this podcast with others. Please go to the ratings and rate this podcast, preferably high ratings. Please leave comments on how this podcast is helping you. The more we share, the more we can build up this community of Confidence Equals Beauty. Also, if you're not part of the Confidence Equals Beauty community, I encourage you to go to Confidence Equals Beauty with Amanda Taylor Facebook group and join. If you are also in need of additional resources to help you work on your confidence, please go to www.confidenceequalsbeauty.com. You can also subscribe to get updated information. Thank you for being part of this community, and remember, confidence equals beauty.